Welcome back to another Tiny Mic session. As you know, the Tiny Mic sessions are a series of interviews where I take my tiny mics and I go all around Montreal to interview your future favorite musicians and their favorite industry professionals. And today I am joined by none other than Emmanuel Lacopo. Emmanuel, you are a post-classical guitarist and composer, and you bridge the gap between classical guitar tradition and post-rock and electronic music and improvised music. You have degrees from both Yale and McGill University. Yeah. You were one of CBC's 30 under 30 in 2023, and you are the proud father of a healthy, ever-growing pedal board. Thank you for coming on to the show.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. It's really funny when you put it all like that.
You're like, hey, I've done stuff. Wait.
I've done things. Wait, father, wait. Oh yeah, pedals.
Yeah.
I have a lot of pedals.
I wanted to scare you a little bit. You're like, wait, there's something I don't know.
Where I just blacked out the last year.
So I would ask you, how a classical guitarist ends up, being in front of cameras and microphones and stuff. But it seems that you've already kind of set it up for yourself with the platform that you've built, where you put out videos on YouTube and Instagram and other social media platforms. How did that happen for you? Like, what gave you the need to explain and teach the things that you make?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think a lot of it just happened because I had so many questions throughout my studies, so many things I wanted to know about that wasn't on the traditional path of classical music. Mm-hmm. And I never really got answers for it. And I felt really confused for a really long time. And once I started to really dig into these things myself, I started realizing that all these things are quite simple and we don't have to overcomplicate our art and our process. And I thought it was really cool, the idea of like starting to document what I was doing and all the new things I was coming up with and just kind of the journey. Like there's things I look back on some of the videos I did where like I was really, really hype about something I was doing, and now I really do not care to work in that way whatsoever.
What's your mindset with that stuff? Are you the kind of person that would clean it out and delete it, or are you the kind of person that like keeps everything?
I keep everything,
even if you're cringing at it.
Yeah, and especially if I'm cringing at it. And I feel like lately, especially, I've been trying to make more things that I cringe at, just to like get out of my bubble and not take myself so seriously. And I really tried to like finish everything I make, whether I use it or not. And like, since I started documenting everything, I really do see, I didn't use this, but it kind of led to this. And then that curiosity led to another thing. And then now I have like this project that makes sense. And it's really fun for me to like document every step of it and then kind of see. And then when I'm really feeling down on myself, to just kind of look back and be like, oh no, like I make a lot of things.
Yeah, that's true. That's what you have receipts. Like physical
exactly.
Receipts of things
I'm not just lying. I do things on a day. Most days I do things.
Not just lying. He does lie sometimes.
Sometimes.
Did you have a favorite like music/guitar content creator that you like based your stuff on, or is it just kind of coming out how it's coming out? Did you like have somebody you listened to?
I feel like there was, like when you start making content, I feel like there's so many things you look at, so many people you look at, and then you try to like emulate what they're doing and try to do all these things. And like, there's so many amazing people on Instagram and YouTube doing such cool things. But like, the reason why it's cool is because it's so authentic to them. And you could tell like, oh no, this person, like that's their thing. Like there's this girl I follow on Instagram now where she plays on like a 17th century bass with bones, and like she uses her bones as bows and like with all these pedals, and it's just like there's no one else doing this.
No,
like,
absolutely not. Wow.
And so like I think eventually I just started to just try to stop overthinking it. I used to like make all these scripts and all these ideas, and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm interested in this thing today. Yeah. I want to work with this and document how it comes out,
Yeah, that's completely valid. Do you think that it's necessary for artists to also be content creators in 2025? Or do you think it's something that, people can do by choice, but it's not? Like, it just so happens that it works really well for you? I
don't think it's really necessary at all. I also, like, when I look at my content, I don't think it's going really well either. Like, I don't think, like, a lot of the times, like, I'm making these things for me. Like, obviously, I would love to have, like, a ton of followers and a ton of subscribers and a ton of views. And I do make things that do really, really well sometimes. And, like, those things that do well have led to things. But I also know that, like, there have been times when, like, focusing too much on making content was like really detrimental. And you do so much on a day to day, there's only so much you can focus on. And if you're completely burnt out and your goal is to make music and you're forcing yourself to make a video that's burning you out more and you're still not making music, then you're doing the wrong thing.
Right.
And you have to focus on, like, I guess, what's important to you and what's important to your career, and find different avenues. Like I make content for one thing, and then I also do like cold emails for another thing. Like I'll send out my stuff every week for like gigs, and then I'll send out my stuff every week for like lectures or different opportunities. And everyone has so many different sides to themselves, and it's just, I guess, about like finding the ways that are most fun to you to showcase that and show people why it's worthwhile to engage with your art.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, a lot of the things that I've found so far for myself and from other people that I've been talking to that's been difficult is the idea of, putting yourself and your art out there. I mean, technically, in order to kind of sell it and sell your product and sell yourself and sell, what you do, but in a way that's not inorganic and that's not inauthentic and that doesn't feel like cringy.
Yeah.
And so I feel like something that I've appreciated is you found a way to make stuff online that's very real and that doesn't feel like,
thank you.
Yeah, like it just feels like this is what I do, and then I would be doing it whether you're watching it or not, but I'm just like opening up a window into my desk. And, do you have any advice for doing stuff like that? Because a lot of people actually really struggle with that specific thing.
Yeah. So I think that like the biggest takeaway I got from school is that like sometimes you have to put your pride aside in a way that like in our own heads, we all have these ideas about what we're making and why we're making it. And in our own heads, it's the most important thing in the world. And if people we think that if people just like listened and like checked out the album or looked at the art or anything, then they would just get it. And they would also think it's the most amazing thing in the world. And even if it's true, like even if you are making the most amazing thing in the world, the most important thing you can learn to do is just finding a very simple, clear way to be like, hey, this is who I am. This is what I do. And not really trying to find a way to like sell this whole big grand idea of you as an artist and all of these things and all of your dreams and everything, because there's so many talented, amazing people who all have the same dreams as you. And I think the cool thing about making content, making videos around your art is that if you don't really look at it as like this thing you have to do, as a job you have to do, like it's uncomfortable to sit alone with a camera and to talk to yourself. It's uncomfortable to like come up with these ideas, but what it forces you to do is to like really be clear on your idea. Like what is it that you're trying to do? Can you yourself explain like what you're trying to make today? And like there's some days where like I go in the studio and I'm just thinking, okay, I'm just gonna just improvise today and just do it, and like beautiful things come from that. But that's a step in the process. And then eventually you have to think like, okay, what's the most succinct way to say this? What's the most like, what is this art trying to be? Is there a meaning? Is there not a meaning? And both are equally important. And I think when you start making content around what you do, you start to really clearly define what it is that you're doing. Yeah,
that's true. That's actually a very good point. So it's kind of like, I mean, there is output, but the main benefit of it is clarity, I guess. Internal clarity at that point. And
you don't have to share everything, like I've made videos that are just sitting on a hard drive, and then maybe they'll become something later on. Same thing with songs and everything. And it's just like, you have to make, if you're saying you're an artist and you love making things, then you should be making things all the time. True. And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to force yourself to make things. You don't have to make things that you're going to share or make things that you think are amazing, but like just try making things a little bit every day,
True. Okay, I agree. Absolutely. Something else that I've noticed when I was looking at your stuff is I've found that let me rephrase this. There's an aspect to the art that you make that I find has a meditative quality to it. And even just in the process of how you make the different things that you make, because it's not all just music. I mean, like you said, you make videos, you make a bunch of other stuff. What's your relationship with like spirituality and that like meditative aspect of it? Is that something that you're close with? I've also noticed that in the last album you put on 2023, you know, the tracks are compositions that are reworked from what I understand, but the name is Buddha in there, and I'm just so curious to see what your what your relationship to that is.
Yeah, I don't know. I would say like I'm definitely like a spiritual person, and I definitely like think a lot about, you know, like why I'm here and why we're all here, and the meaning of things, and like how we're here for sure. And I think like every time I think about art, I think I've always just kind of used it as a way to just like understand myself a little bit better. I feel like it's where I've always been able to be the most honest. And not to say that like every time I make something I feel like, oh, I could just like let go and just be myself, because I feel like there's definitely times where like I'm making something, I'm like, I am trying so hard to sound like someone right now, I'm trying so hard to be something right now, why do I hate what comes out naturally? And I think when you think about like the meditativeness of music and art making, or the spiritual nature of it, I think it's really just that, is learning to be okay with what comes out naturally from you, not hating your thoughts, not hating your ideas. And somehow, at least for me, I feel like I get to know myself a little bit better when I make things. But it's also like, I don't know, like when I think about it, I'm also actively trying to make myself uncomfortable. Like something I did this year was I just forced myself to start singing, and I've always hated singing. I feel like I used to be made fun of for my voice and all these things, and it was always like a big source of insecurity for me. But I was like, man, like I just want to make things, and I feel like this song needs vocals on it, and
I'll just do it.
And singing is like usually people's first introduction to music. It should be something that comes so natural to us. And so, you know, when you see that there's a block there's a reason for that block, and working in a medium that you're comfortable with helps make it a little less scary. And yeah, so I think, you know, it's a really big process of my life, like making music, making art, and it is like I feel like something that helps make sense of the world around me. And I definitely feel like, you know, when you go to a show and you hear a song and it gives you goosebumps, like that's that artist being really honest and raw with you, and there's something really beautiful there, and you don't have to understand it, but there's a feeling and there's a reaction there, and even without like a conversation about it, it's important, you know.
Yeah, I think like, well, actually, how do you explain the fact that you want to put yourself in uncomfortable situations all the time? Because I that's a pattern I see with a lot of artists, and myself included. I've done things this year. You know what I did this year? I decided this year. It's funny because you're bringing up singing, and I'm very comfortable with singing. That's my main right now. That's my main instrument. But earlier this year, I decided I was gonna write a verse and go to a jam session and rap.
Nice. Heck yeah.
And it was very uncomfortable, because I was like, oh god. And it's silly because it's the same instrument. It's like if I asked you to play, the thing is, like, I think you're proficient, you're probably proficient at most genres of guitar playing, but let's say a genre that you're less used to, and then I was just like, just like go there and do this for the first time in front of everybody. Anyway, I just like, I don't know why I did that to myself, but I did it, and then some cool things came out of it. I got asked to like MC on like some project that might or might not be coming out in the next year, and we went in and actually recorded in the studio.
That's dope. No, but that's how it should be. I
was like, what the hell is going on? But and I still do. Am I gonna keep doing it a bunch? No, but can I now? I guess I can say I did it.
Yeah, but you'll always wonder if you don't do it.
Is that it? Do you think you're wondering what would happen?
You'll never know like the extent of the things you can make if you don't try. And like maybe you suck at it, and maybe you suck at it for now and you'll be good at it later. Maybe you'll always suck at it and you just have to accept it. But you don't know. Like just try and give it like an actual try.
No.
And like
not like I guess I'm doing this whatever, like,
Yeah.
you know, like people in high school when they're like in band and
Yeah.
they're like not trying. They're like, yeah, I just play the tuba, whatever. You know?
Exactly.
It's like, no, actually try.
Actually practice. Like, look at your thing. Look at your instrument today. No, but that's the thing. I don't like. It's not a good feeling all the time, but it's just like anything else. Like when I first did like my very first concert, I was like, why did I do this? Why did I choose to do this? I want to throw up right now. This sucks. I'm so scared. I'm so nervous. What if I fall on stage? What if people make fun of me? What if people hate
my God,
this?
falling
Like,
on stage.
yeah, like so many things. Like you're a kid and you're playing a show and you're like all the worst possible things come to your mind. And you do another one and the feeling's still there, and another one, and you don't really realize it when, but you keep doing it, and eventually, like, yeah, you're nervous before a show, but you're like, oh, I like this. And it's no longer that feeling of, okay, after this one, just never again. Just never gonna do another show again, and we don't have to feel this way anymore.
I mean, for some people it is like truly that, like they just like have they just don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
But there is you're right, there is a difference between stage fright and just like
exactly, because you'll know, you know, like if it's really not the right thing for you, you're gonna know, and you're gonna feel it over and over again. You're gonna be like, okay, maybe this isn't something that I really like to do, and you make that call. You know, there may come a time where you never want to play your instrument ever again, and you want to pick up a different instrument, or you want to pick up a different artistic medium. But the point is, I think, is just to like keep trying and not think that like that discomfort is always gonna last. You know?
No, because it never does.
Yeah.
It never does, because either you remove yourself from the situation.
Yeah.
Or you make it just far enough that you're like, wait a second.
Yeah.
The water's not that hot.
Yeah.
And you're like,
and people don't care as much as you think they do. You know, like people are not actively waiting for you to mess up on stage. You know, they don't want to see you.
Nobody has nefarious intentions when looking at somebody.
Yeah.
If anything, that I'm like rooting for them. I'm like, I need this for me. I need this to go well. Like, yeah.
Exactly.
If I go back to I guess an aspect of my previous question was like, I was asking about I guess meditation and then like just reflectiveness. There's something with improvised music that for me kind of brings me to that zone. I'm wondering if you've ever given it a thought to what people would be doing or thinking while listening to your music. Like, what is it? Some music has an intended purpose. Yeah. You know, there's people out there that are literally just making beats for people to hook up on. You know, there's people out there that are making dance music. There's people out there like, I don't know if your music for me puts me in a state where I'm like, I want to think about my life, but I don't know what you intended, or is there an intention?
I just think like I like to make music that is fun for me to play, fun for me to listen to. I like to show people like ways that they wouldn't expect an instrument to be played, or they wouldn't expect a certain sound to come out of that instrument that they're seeing. I don't know. I never really thought about what I want people to think when they're hearing my music. I kind of just want people to just kind of relax for a moment and have a good time and have fun and just be like inspired to make things of their own. And yeah, I don't know. Someone asked me about my music once and I was like, it's kind of like if like you take metal music but then make it like really chill and ambient. And they were like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. And I was like, I guess it kind of does, yeah. But I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out like what it is I do, what it is that I make. I think right now I'm in the state where I'm just trying to make things. Like I was in school for so long and I was always making things in school. But
there's direction there. Like you're getting kind of like pushed in different directions.
Exactly. Yeah. And you know, there's parts where you're put in a box and things that you have to do that you don't necessarily want to do. And so this is the first time where I'm like, oh, I can just do whatever I want. This is great.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. That is really good. I want to come back to a point of something we were talking about before I started the cameras, which is your next project is getting recorded. You have a grant from CAC for it. You know, how did that come about for you, and why did you decide to go that route, and what do you want to make out of this project?
Yeah, no, I'm really stoked. So the album is called Dreamscapes and Our Modern Contradictions, and we're gonna start recording it next week. So the thing about this album is I kind of started writing. I started writing the music for this like 2 years ago, and I tried recording it on multiple occasions, and there was just always something that didn't feel right about it.
Okay.
It just like didn't feel ready. It didn't feel honest. It felt like it was trying to be something else. And then I was always kind of thinking like, oh, I'm gonna make this, and then later on I'll make like the honest thing, like the real thing. And I was like, man, that's a really shitty way to think.
Yeah, that's sad.
And then I was like, oh, why? So I was like, okay, so obviously this music isn't ready and needs to just go away for a bit.
Yeah.
And like as I was telling you before, like I have a long history of applying for grants, and I was always applying for grants for things that I thought was what I need to, like the projects I needed to be doing, and it just never worked out. And so there's like this huge list of rejections spanning years worth of grant applications that took hours and hours to do. And so I sat down with this music in like October or something.
Okay.
Or even before that, actually. It was over the summer. And I was thinking of like what I wanted it to be. And I was thinking, well, if I just want to make this the honest thing, the most honest, like
just
if
skip
I make,
the step.
yeah, if I have one album of my original music, like I want this to be it. I want to have all my friends on it. I want to have the money to get all my friends paid. I want it to be everything I imagined classical music could be when I was like 16 years old and like first discovering it. And so I think it was like the first time I wrote a grant application that involved a project that was like not only going to like fund a community of artists, which was something I was really happy about being able to do, but also just like have an album that like is classical but experimental classical, but also like takes in like all my years of like musical influence outside of classical music, and then there's the aspect of like my doctoral research and all this sort of thing that fits into it. And I felt like it was the first time I was writing an application for something that I was like, oh no, this is like something I think is really good, really passionate about, and even if the grant doesn't work out, now I know what it is, like now I know what I want this project to be. I guess
writing it allows you to really figure it. It's kind of like making the content,
exactly.
right? It's like it really forces you to get it together.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm really, really, really excited to bring it to life. Like there's tracks on there that are going to be for like, I don't know, like up to like 9 musicians of like cellos and saxophones and violas and drums. And it's just like, it's wildly cool. It's everything like I wanted to make as a kid, and it's all like my favorite post rock and metal records, and like as well as like approaches to like classical guitar that I loved growing up. And it's like everything kind of in one.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's amazing. Are you gonna be singing on that record?
I am singing on that record.
Are you serious?
Yeah, there's a few tracks that I'm singing on, and
that's so awesome.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
Shout out for doing that.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Do you have plans to do like a little release thing? Do you have what's your plan with it once it's available and out for us to go and find it? Do you want to tour it? Do you want to
I want to do everything. It's like the first time that like I could do something properly, and it might be the last time. Who knows? That's the thing with grants.
Flip a coin, man. I don't know.
It's so like luck of the draw sometimes, it feels like. So I want to really like enjoy the experience and take it all in and like really do it right and have a really fun time doing it. So I definitely, I want to make vinyls. I want to do a release show for it. I want to do a tour for it. We're going to make a mini documentary to like document the creation of the album, and there's going to be some music videos. And I don't know. I'm really excited to just like show it to people and kind of build a world around it. Because that's something I've been thinking about a lot lately, is just like, how can you make an album that kind of has like this world building metadata type approach to it, where people can be kind of immersed in this thing. And that's because that's kind of been like my favorite records have kind of done that for me. You get pulled into this world and you just can't stop listening to it. So I've been kind of trying to figure out how to present it in the best way. But touring is definitely at the top of my list. I'm trying to figure that out at the moment.
Oh, I hope you get to do it. That sounds sounds really fun.
Yeah.
With this record, do you feel like you finally feel adequately supported? Like, I mean, you know, especially I guess with classical music, I'm from a background of music, but I'm less in touch, I guess, with the classical side of it. You know, with the kind of commodification of music as a product and like music as entertainment, and you know, the art form has kind of like evolved in so many different ways. It feels to me like sometimes, I guess, the classical or the more experimental side of it is kind of harder to bring to your average Joe.
Yeah.
Do you feel like so far you've been able to be adequately supported by, like, let's say, funding and or your community in this kind of genre?
Yeah. Well, I think the thing is that, like, when the funding's not there, if you're a good enough person, your community is there. You know,
Yeah.
like if you're good to work with and you're nice, then you're going to have an amazing community of people around you. And maybe part of it is that we're also very privileged to be in Montreal. Like, Montreal is such a cool city, and there's something for everyone. Everyone is doing something, even, you know, like art forms that you've never heard of. Someone is probably doing it and like succeeding at it here. So I feel like really lucky to have always had like a really strong community here of friends and collaborators and people who are like always down to try my crazy ideas, even if it doesn't really make much sense even to me at the time. So I've always felt supported in that way. I think the issue with funding here is just that, like, again, there's so many cool people doing really, really important work, and there's just not enough money to go around sometimes. And the situation is much more complex and than I even understand in terms of like how we can make this better. But I feel very lucky to have like gotten the support now for the first time, and I don't want to waste the opportunity.
No, I'm sure you will not.
And,
somehow I'm like confident that it's gonna go well.
Thank you. But yeah, no. So I think like even when that's the point of community. I think is like even when the funding's not there and you're trying to figure it out, your community will be there to support you, and as you will be for them. You know, like before I got the funding for this, I was having friends just like come over to the house, and I was like, okay, I'll give you some money and I'll cook you a meal, and can you just like track this stuff for the demo? They were like, yeah, of course. And they came and they did that. And but there's been times when they've asked me like, hey, can you do this show? It's not paid really well, but you know, when it's friends and it's people that we all, you know, it's a symbiotic relationship in this community, it all works out and it all keeps it going. And so yeah, I guess that's
community is, I think, the most important part of it. Like, there's no point to what I'm doing. I mean, you know, obviously, like, this is what I do now, but there's no point to anything that we're doing if we don't have people around to either appreciate it or build it up or contribute or make it their own, or you know. So I'm very glad to see that you've got that around you to make your project happen, and I'm so excited to hear it.
Thank you.
So here's a question. So I was brainstorming for this, and I listened to all your stuff before coming here, and I want to know if I want to explain, like, to my uncle or my grandma how to get into, because ambient music and post-classical has that, it's a little bit harder to reach for some people.
100%.
Have you figured out how to either explain it or like provide people with like a way to develop their ear into it? Like, how do you sink into that genre of music? Like, I'm lucky that I've been around it for long enough, and I have friends that play it, and it's just like, and I also just, for me, I really love meditation, and for me that kind of just draws that, so I find myself finding benefit in it, no matter if it's improvised or there's no repetition or whatever, or if there's a lot of repetition. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, I might go on a tangent here.
That's fine. I like tangents.
Okay, so I guess maybe I should start by just saying like why I got into classical music, because I didn't start with classical music. I grew up like playing in rock bands and metal bands and just making like really weird, loud, heavy music. And then one day I heard classical guitar for the first time, and I also found out you could go to school for music and study classical guitar, and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. I don't have to do math ever again. I could just go play guitar. This is great. It was much harder than I thought, but all is to say, like, I got into classical music because of the fact that like I saw this art form that it had rules, but you could have this grand idea and make a piece that could last 6 hours long and justify it, and people will come and watch it. You know what I mean? Like you could have these massive long forms, you could have these giant ensembles. There didn't seem to be any rules to what you could or couldn't create. And then you get into modern music and you see like how people started like preparing instruments, augmenting instruments, all this sort of thing, working with technology and just like really exploring ideas, because like that's all it is like, I wonder how this would sound. And then you do it and you're like, oh, I hated that. Or, whoa, that's the coolest sound of all time. And I need to use that in everything. So that's what really intrigued me about classical music, is that you could just go in and create. Now, obviously there's a lot of rules and bad parts about it as well. Yeah. But at the forefront, that's what it was. Now, when it comes to like experimental music, improvisation, like anything that's hard to get into, there's someone in Toronto, his name's Michael Palumbo. Okay. He runs a free improv series called Exit Points, and it's a really, really amazing free improvised series. Happens every month, I believe. Okay. And the reason why I bring him up is because he had a very eloquent way of explaining how to deal with experimental music. Now, it's not going to be as great as he said it, but essentially what he was getting at is that like you have to leave behind the notion that like you have to like everything. There's going to be, or that you have to understand everything. When you're listening to an art form like free jazz, for example, you know, if you're listening to Coltrane and Rashida Lee on Interstellar Space for the very first time and you're like, what is happening right now? It's okay not to understand. It's okay even to not like it. Yeah. But it's a lot of fun to just close your eyes and see where your mind wanders to. You know, what are your bodily sensations? Yeah. Are you feeling anxious? Are you feeling happy? Are you feeling, why do you think you're feeling these things? And to like dive into these things and eventually like maybe you really start to dig this music. Maybe you start to find like different subgenres in these experimental sort of things, you know, and you may not even understand why you start to like it, but it's important, I think, just to like teach you how to like be present and like experience something unfold that you have no idea how it's going to go. Yeah. You know, there's like a certain, like when it comes to pop music, like I love pop music. And part of the reason why we love pop music is because we could kind of expect what's going to happen. And and pop music is really, really good at giving you what you expect at the perfect time, and then also giving you a completely different thing that you wouldn't expect in a way that's not jarring, but is still surprising and keep things interesting. Yeah. Whereas like experimental music is a lot of the time is always all jarring and you don't expect it. Yeah. Yeah. Or it just like, yeah, it just like, it just doesn't, it just defies expectations, even like in terms of sonically where you not just where you want it to go, but like the deeper subconscious thing of like, okay, well, there should be a change in texture now. Yeah. Yeah. Or like you don't even understand that. Yeah. Like that just like uneasiness of like, I feel like it needs to change now, and then it doesn't, and you're like, it doesn't. Yeah, I've been through to shows that are just like drones for like 2 hours, but it forces you to just like sit there with it, and sometimes sitting with yourself is a little uncomfortable. Do you think maybe that's it? Maybe people. I'm not saying that I'm not, you know, all knowing, and I'm not always comfortable with myself. Definitely not, but. There isn't. I do a lot of exercising that, you know, like the whole sitting with yourself thing, or like sitting in discomfort thing. I'm a big cold bath fan. Nice. I'm a big hot yoga cold bath fan, and so I sit with my body in situations that are uncomfortable often, or just, you know, not standard, I guess. And I've come to enjoy the fight that happens in there. Yeah, 100%. And I feel that kind of that same push and pull reaction whenever I listen to ambient stuff. Yeah, no, it's I think you know, I can't say like an objective truth, but like I think sometimes it's that, like it is just hard to just sit there with this thing that you have no idea what's going on, you have no idea how long it's gonna last, and it is difficult, but I think there's a lot of good that comes from that too. And also I think it's just cool to like get like a little bit of a window into people's minds that have like, they have ideas that you would never think of, you know, like playing instruments in ways you would never think of, or pairing instruments in ways, making like pairing genres in different ways. And it's just, I don't know, it's for me at least, like I would have like I would feel very bored in my life if I just kind of did the same things every single day and took in the same sort of media every single day.
Yeah,
and true. I like to
then
be,
you would probably start making the same stuff.
Exactly. And I don't know about you, but I definitely see like random inspirations popping up in the things I make, and that's all it is. That's all creation is that we are so unique because you have a whole set of influences of things that, like, some of the things I probably never even heard of, and those all influence what you make, and that is like a uniquely special thing that's like unique to you. And it's the same for me and the same for every other artist. And I think it's really cool to get like a little view into that.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like there's that kind of push and pull of how we're in this, whether we like it or not. But the fact that everything stays new really feeds it, because even if you know that long term, like for me at this point in my life, it's clear that I'm gonna be somehow involved with the arts until until I can't anymore, right? Yeah. But the fact that I get to every day make it a little bit newer, and feel challenged by it, kind of like what you were saying, is like there's always going to be a challenge. I'm never going to be bored of it because there's always something I don't understand somewhere. It makes me feel warm inside.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
There's always something, like, and I don't have the answer. Like, I don't know how to get more people into the experimental things we do, or even just into coming to concerts in general. Yeah. I don't have the answers.
Do you feel like people go to concerts less?
Kind of, yeah.
But why do you think?
I don't know. There's like I don't know. I don't know. I can't pretend that I know. I just think that, I don't know. Yeah. But it's not only just concerts. Like, it's just, like, people will go to the movies less. People will not purchase like physical media really anymore. Like, I have less and less friends buying vinyls and CDs and all this sort of thing. But it's also like not all bad. Like, these things still exist, and we still have like a thriving concert scene here in Montreal. But I just think like because there's so much, it's also on the artists too. Like, we have to like give a really good experience to make it worth it for people to come out now. I think true. It goes both ways in a way.
I guess it forces you to like really step it up. Yeah. You're like, if I want people to come to this,
it's like I can't just play the same set. And I don't know, but in an ideal world, like, everyone would just be appreciating art and like going out to things. And
I do think I think it's definitely like a whirlwind and like a plethora of things that are, but I mean, increasingly social activities are all happening online. Yeah. Financially, people are not in the same situation they were in years ago. The first guest that I had on the podcast was Sergio, the owner of Turbo House.
Yeah, it's true.
And it's funny that this is coming back now, but he was already then a whole year ago echoing that when he was in the spot that I guess I'm at now, he was able to work a part-time job and have spending money, Yeah. And he was like, we were literally just out on the street, just making stuff. Just doing whatever because we had time. Yeah. I know a lot of people now that are in music that have 3 jobs.
That's the problem. Exactly.
Like, how...
Yeah. Everyone's working all the time, and like, it's hard to even have energy to like make something at the end of the day if you're just completely overworked.
If you're dead, yeah.
Yeah. And let alone play a show.
True.
So it's a complicated thing that has like so many different factors in it. And I think, in moments like this, all you can do is all you can do. You can just try your best and just try to uplift your community and try to help create opportunities for not just only you, and like try to create opportunities for as many artists as you can. And it doesn't have to be this like cutthroat competitive environment just because all the factors are pointing to make it more scarce to be able to do this. It doesn't mean we have to feed into it and make it super competitive and feel like there can only be one, I think the answers in these situations are just finding the best ways to like uplift your community and and just showcase as much art as we can. And I don't really have the answers, but I think collectively we might be able to do
I think
it.
so, and I think we're in the right city for it.
Yeah.
Because there's a bunch of crazy, weird energy in Montreal that makes it so that people are just like, yeah, I'll do it. And you're like, okay,
exactly,
let's go.
And people actually, like, that's what I love about Montreal, is that, like, people, first of all, people will do what they say. They're not just bullshitting. Like, if they say, like, I'm going to make this thing, they will find a way to make it. And also, just, like, despite everything, like, everyone is always down to just, like, make something happen, you know, like, regardless if people understand the vision or not, everyone's always so down and so collaborative. And I just really love this city for that. And people make art all the time, regardless. Like, people will just decide here, they're like, no, I'm going to be an artist, and they do it. And it's really, really amazing to see.
Yeah. And that's why I want to document it, you know? Like, it's like, if I don't know, this is my way of being like, I see it. Like, I notice you guys. Like, this is cool. So I don't know. I'm happy that we've gotten to talk a little bit about your stuff. Is there anything that you would want to specifically plug that's coming up for you that you would like to tell people? I mean, I know the album's gonna happen at some point.
I don't know. Just check out my Instagram, my YouTube. That'll keep you up to
really
date.
Cool YouTube videos. I like them.
Thank you. The album's gonna come out soon. There'll be more shows. There's always something. So just keep
I'll just put your social links in the description. Please go find the. Do you go by Manny usually, or do you go by Emmanuel?
Friends call me both. So
either.
Yeah, either's good.
But your artist name is Emmanuel Lacopo on.
That is me.
Yeah.
That's my
name.
name.
Go find Emmanuel Lacopo on any platform that you like. He's pretty much everywhere. Is there anything that we haven't spoken about that you would like to mention? It could be anything. It could be that. It could be that you might want to play us something, if you want. No pressure.
I could play us a little something for sure. I don't know. Just make art. Just make art and make honest art, and just fuck all the bullshit. Just make good stuff.
You heard it here first. Fuck all the bullshit. I'm with that. Thank you, man. I really appreciate you coming on. Me. It's been a pleasure. If ever this comes out and your album comes out after, which chances are it will, I will be adding the link to the album in the description. So go find it and go listen to it if you're finding this later on in the year. Thank you guys so much. Ciao. Have a good one.
Bye.
Yay.
That was fun.
That was so cute. Do you actually want to play a little thing?
I could if you like, yeah.
Yeah? Okay. What are you playing us?
Oh, this is a tune of mine called The Way Water Breathes.
The Way Water Breathes.
And usually there's all these like electronics and things, but
we'll imagine them. Yeah. All right, whenever you're ready. Yeah, that was so pretty. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's whatever. That's okay. Well, we accept the moment. This was improv, I guess.